Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Tara Tarot. This will be your July 2019 reading. I'm sorry for getting these out a little late, but I will make sure that all of them are out by the end of today. So getting started, I'm doing this reading on July 2nd. So today there is a solar eclipse. Solar eclipses only occur when the new moon is happening. So there is a new moon in Cancer and the sun is in Cancer right now. And why does this pertain to you, Libra? Because for everyone right now, there is an emphasis around the home and changing things around the home and making new things occur. A lot of people are moving or redecorating. And there's a few things in here that will pertain to your home. So I wanted to get started to say, as that occurs, you might notice that there's something going on in your life. Now, I did this reading a little bit differently, and I shuffled the cards as I have before so that we could jump right into them. But this time I did an astrological tarot spread. So each card is of the different house. So it's a general spread that will touch upon all areas of your life. Alright, so getting started. The first house, the card that came out for you guys, is the Page of Cups. So the first house is the house about self. The house of your appearance, of your outward directed energy, how you would like to be seen. The card that came out for that is the Page of Cups. So the Page of Cups reminds me of someone who is just falling in love. So it could be that at this time you're feeling very emotional, as emotional as you may have when you were a teenager, going through all of your, going through puberty at that time. You could be feeling that again, in a way, like the emotional dramatics of it. Another thing is you could be feeling very young and childlike. You might be going to a lot of parties or hanging out with a lot of people again, and that could be that could be shown by this card as well, because the Page of Cups is a little bit immature and spends a lot of time around company, and that also just reminds me of a childlike thing. But also some of you could be experiencing love again, and this could feel as if it is your first love if it is not your first. Now, your second house, the house of finances. This is also your house of possessions, like material wealth. I'm struggling with picking that up. And it's the Seven of Pentacles. So with the Seven of Pentacles in the House of Finances, what I feel like for you guys is that you guys have been putting in a lot of work towards a certain goal, or about, maybe saving towards something. And you're not quite there yet, but things are starting, the seeds are already planted and things are starting to bloom. You just don't see all of it at this moment. And you are still to work hard. I know it might feel like you don't see the end, but things are starting to materialize and there's still a lot of work ahead of you. But if you keep putting it into it, putting the work in towards these goals, then in the months to come, probably by the time we reach Libra season, you'll have manifested everything that you have put forth from this eclipse. And another thing for those of you who wish to manifest, if you are watching this video on this day, please wait until Thursday or Friday, because eclipse energy is really intense. And sometimes we try to manifest something that we think that we really want, but it might not be what we need. So I think you should take the time to think that through as well. And if it is something of material need that you have been working towards, just keep working towards it, and those are still going to come towards you. But don't use this time to manifest it, to make it happen quicker. Now in the third house, which is the house of siblings and the house of communication, Also the house of close friends. The card that came out for that is the Three of Wands. So I feel like for some of you, I feel like you want to explore a new path. You might be wanting to move away from a friend group that you have at this time. This could be because you see more for yourself right now, or you want to follow something creative. You want to find more friends to fit along this path with you or this journey that you're on. So it's possible that you might be trying to explore a new direction. And I don't think that that means that you fully want to leave the people in your life, but I do think that you're looking for better influences, if that makes any sense. And I feel like you're trying to find people that kind of fit in your group that will help you get what you need. And that's not in a selfishness you want friends only to get something. It's more like you want friends that you can get you can manifest with together. And right now, the people that are in your company, it doesn't feel like that. Now, in the fourth house is the house of home. It's also the house of motherhood and family and domestic life. And that the card that came out for that house is the Four of Wands. So a lot of times when I see this card, it speaks of a marriage. So you or someone else in your home could be getting married. But if not that, this card could also just be that you feel very accepted in your home and in your family life right now. And things are very peaceful, and you feel like there's a solid foundation in your home. And your relationship with your mother or your mother figure might be especially, you might be especially close with them at this time, or really able to express yourself where you might not have been able to before. So in that regard, there's a lot of positive things. And as I was speaking about with this eclipse in Cancer, a lot of things surrounding motherhood, healing around the mother could come up as well. So this could relate to that this could be a very peaceful transition for you guys, which is great to hear because a lot of cardinal signs, and you are a cardinal sign, are really struggling at this time during these eclipses. But it's good to hear that in that regard, you guys are doing well. The fifth house is the house of romance. This is also the house of performance, children, dramatic endeavors, and I see the Two of Pentacles. So what I see for this is that a lot of you are trying to find balance in your romantic life. I think that if you do have someone in your life right now, you're struggling to balance them in with maybe your work or your friends, and you might be letting one fall to the wayside. And this could mean that you are putting this significant other above your friends, but it could mean that you're picking your friends against your significant other. It could go either way depending on your specific situation. However, I do feel that you guys are struggling to find balance, and you could be in a relationship with a fire sign. I say that because of the triangle here, that is the fire element symbol, and it's also red, but they don't need to be. That could just be a message for some of you. But I feel like you guys are struggling to find this balance. And I think it's because you want all of your material needs to be met. So you want to make sure that you are putting the time and the effort into what needs to be. And if you were single for some time, you could be putting all of your effort into this person because you don't want that to happen again. But I don't want you to lose yourself or lose sight of what's good for you at this time. So I just want to put out that message because some of you might need to hear that. And when I speak to Libras about anything regarding romance or someone in their life, they usually don't take it well. So I have to say that with a caution as well. The sixth house is the house of health and service to others and work. I see for you guys the Eight of Swords. So I feel like a lot of you guys are feeling emotionally trapped, but I want to let you guys know if that's the case, you're doing it to yourself. It might be because you're not, I feel like you guys aren't expressing yourselves. You let everyone come to you, and you're the shoulder to cry on for everyone. But now when it comes down to yourself, you're in this false cage that you're barricading yourself from actually communicating what's wrong. And there is a way out, and there are people to talk to, but you want to be the person that's strong for everyone, so you're not actually allowing yourself to have that release. And that might have a lot of harm on like health otherwise, because mind and body are connected, though they might be staggering in reaction. If this is pertaining to your emotions or your emotional life at this time, it's a possibility that you could put yourself at risk health-wise, because you could be putting yourself under a lot of stress. So I really want you guys to know that you can unload on other people, and it shouldn't feel like it's a burden, and you don't need to be sorry all of the time, because that is all I ever hear from a Libra. Just allow yourself to express yourself. And if you don't feel like you can express yourself to these people, then you do need to find new friends. And maybe that's the new path that you really need to explore, is finding someone who is willing to actually communicate to you, and say, hey, it looks like you're hurting. I want to hear about it. Because if you don't have that, that's not really a friend. Now, the 7th house is the house of romance, and the house of partnerships. Not really the romance, I'm sorry. More like the house of marriage, partnerships, business partnerships. And the card that came out for that is the 5 of Swords. So I feel like when it comes to perhaps someone in your like that you have a business partnership with right now, or your spouse or your significant other, you could be wanting to win at all costs. You could be in constant conflict. It feels like you care more about your pride. I feel like within relationships, like very close relationships surrounding either money or marriage, you just want to fight for the sake of fighting and win for the sake of winning, but it doesn't really seem like you have an end goal. And I feel like this is because you haven't expressed yourself for so long that now you're just like being passive aggressive. And I want this tendency that you have right now to be looked at, because this is very detrimental to your relationships, and then you'll come back to this feeling sorry for it because you weren't able to communicate. But you're an air sign, so you should know better than most that communication is the key. So be careful of fights around that as well. And if fights do come up, I want you to express yourself fully, because fights can come up and it seems like you might kind of just say things just to win. And that's not going to go over well in the long term. Your 8th house is the house of rebirth, transformation, and sexuality. The card for that came out as the 10 of Wands. So I feel like a lot of you guys are burning out on your responsibilities. I feel like you guys are really struggling to change and struggling to transform in a lot of aspects of your life. Now, it feels like if you really worked through all of these burdens and you exercise your willpower, you're going to go really far and you're going to have success. But I feel like you're being tested right now, because I feel like things keep coming up and these things keep becoming more and more challenging to see if you really deserve like this abundance and you deserve these changes in your life. And you have to do that by like working through it. But you might be struggling right now because we're going into like the eclipse is happening right now, and then we're going into Mercury retrograde. So everything is kind of being slowed down, and we're not really being advised to make big changes. So I feel like you're being halted, but it's because you're being shown patience and, like, again, willpower. Just how hard are you willing to work, and how much are you going to struggle before you give up? Because right past this is a new beginning. And if you get the Ace of Wands, then, you're given a new opportunity, which is would be the next round, because you wouldn't go to the court cards right away. But yeah, I really do feel like a lot of you guys need to push through the challenges right now, because beautiful things are coming through. Now, the 9th house is the house of travel and of higher learning. And the card you got for that is the Moon. So I feel like if some of you guys are thinking about going back towards school, or, planning some kind of a trip, I feel like you might be deceived in that area. So you're being advised to really look at the fine print and, maybe just plan things, but don't go through with it yet until after Mercury goes direct, because that is also it speaks of travel when you talk about Mercury. And I just feel like with this card, it's like a card of deception, a card of not knowing and having to truly listen to within, and things not being as they seem. So I feel like you really should not be looking into that at that moment. You could also be traveling with a Pisces, but I don't feel like that's the message for most of you. I feel like a lot of you, it's like you want to travel and get out of here. You want to look into schools and higher learning and all of these things, but you might be deceived, so you shouldn't do that at this time. It's not the best time. It's good to look into it, but not to commit to it. So that's my advice for that area. Now the 10th house is the house of careers. It's also the house of boundaries and higher learning. Oh no. Okay, sorry. And the card that came out for that is the Ten of Swords. So it is possible that some of you might be leaving or changing your job. Or some of you might be getting betrayed at work. You might have to beware of someone deceiving you at work and a relationship ending. Or you could be fighting heavily with your father and ending a relationship with him. But I do feel like for many of you Libras, you might be having a fight with somebody at work, and that relationship might be ending, or you might be losing or changing that job this month. And it is possible that it is someone being deceived if you have friends from work, because this card's speaking of, leaving and changing friends, kind of looking at a new path. And if this is losing a friend at work, you might be looking at a new path. The 11th house is the card of acquaintances, humanitarian goals, and the card that came out for that is Judgment. So many of you might be trying to spend more time helping others, volunteering, giving service to others. You might feel called to do so. You might feel like you'll get more blessings during that. You might feel more at peace and like you're, being given signs to do this service for others, really. This also could mean, as far as friends and hanging out, you're kind of called upon to not be spending as much time doing that and wasting time, but spending more time being of help, or even doing that for other friends. You're actually able to give them signs and directions towards where they need to be at this time. Yeah. This could also mean that you leave this job and then you are called to do something else, but you might be left in the dark in a lot of areas. This could mean that too. It could mean that you're changing a job and you're really being called upon something greater than yourself, but you're not sure because it seems like everything's a burden and everything's just in the dark, but you're like trapped and you don't know that if you ask people for help, you might get this abundance and these invitations places. It's funny, like as I pull the cards, but as I'm reading them, I start to like see more and more. So then I'm like, this is how they all fit. Sorry guys. The 12th house is the house of the subconscious. It is also the house of spirituality. The card that came out for that is the 5 of Pentacles. And the 5 of Pentacles is about being in a lack mentality, feeling like you don't have enough when you do, feeling like you're alone but you aren't. So I feel like you have this fear that you're going to lose everything. Right? You have this fear that you're left to struggle in the cold alone. And you are left to feel like you can't turn to anyone. This is like your subconscious fear, most likely. But right now, you actually have a lot of things that are calling you to like listen to other people. Because even with, what card was I saying before? Even with the Judgment card, actually, the Judgment card also speaks of like needing to listen more. Listen more to yourself, listen more to your heart, listen more to others, and to what they're telling you because you're given signs, right? Now, also the King of Wands, which is the bottom of the deck, which is also like a secret additional meaning or an additional piece of information given for you. And the card with the King of Wands usually speaks of like needing to understand others. So I feel like a lot of your fears are coming from not feeling connected, but you're the one that's disconnecting yourself from others. So at this month, I really do feel like a lot of you guys need to be willing to come forth and put some of your problems onto other people so that you don't feel so alone. But also listen to others because they're able to give you insight towards your next plan or your next goal. And they might be able to help you. Because right now you're feeling alone, but you're really not. You're surrounded by other people. The 5 of Pentacles, like I said, is the lack mentality. Feeling like you don't have anything. But that's not true. You still have plenty of things. So, plenty of things, plenty of people in your lives, plenty of blessings. And the things that are escaping your life that might feel like painful or bring you some kind of sorrow are still for your greatest good because right now the eclipses are recycling, like, not recycling, are like cycling out like the old patterns and cycling out the like negative people in your life. So, anyone that is leaving, or situations that are leaving might leave you upset, but it's really for your benefit. Okay, Libras, I hope that you guys enjoyed this reading. I know there were some struggles in here, but there are a lot of beautiful messages in here as well. I just don't want you guys to be in the way of yourselves. And I hope you enjoyed this. Please leave a like, comment, or subscribe, and I'll see you guys for the August reading. Alright, bye guys. Namaste.